everybody.
Greetings,
it's a
everyone.
new month. It's spoopy month, which
That's
means
true.
I'm kidding.
That's true.
Which means that there's a new possibility pile to share with you guys.
Yes.
And we're very excited about all the books that books and comics. That
I'm
we are
excited for
hopefully
possibility in general, really, if you think
I also
about
have so
it.
many plans to watch so many things, so I don't know how all the
There's a
reading
lot
is
of
going to fit in there.
things happening in October,
But we'll
I
try.
find. Yeah, we're gonna give it a shot, right? And speaking of shots, I'm gonna shoot first.
Okay.
Kind of like Han, anyway. And speaking of Han Solo, I'm gonna start with the courtship of Princess Leia.
Oh, you're rereading.
So here's the fun part, right? So Kristen from Merrily Kristen just randomly, not randomly, I mean this has been a conversation going on in the background, but I'm the one who randomly sort of like decided to go watch the thing that Alexa said, hey, she totally, said that she's gonna get Courtship of Princess Leia. She finally sort of like showed everybody the book from the Legends universe. It's the now non-canon Star Wars set of books that specifically, and this particular book in particular centers around exactly that. Princess Leia in that alternate universe. For those of you who've been watching Marvel's What If, it's kind of like that now.
It's equivalent to that now.
Yeah, it's equivalent to that.
Are you sad?
I'm very salty. Among many things, but not necessarily today, because only good memories of this book actually kind of started already a little bit.
Of course it have.
And it tells the story of, at the time right after the events of episode 6,
okay,
when they've blown up the second Death Star, spoilers, and now the fledgling New Republic is trying to sort of like beat down every single warlord. They're playing whack-a-mole with the remnants of the Empire. One of them in particular was this nasty dude who got his mitts on one of the 3 in this universe's Super Star Destroyers, the Iron Fist. And then out of nowhere, Leia gets a proposal from a very reclusive, and you'll get this, from a very reclusive, very powerful, very matriarchal spacefaring society that is, warlike and strong. No, but but them witches may be roughly. This is a time when nobody knew what Dathomir was. It just so happens that the planet was roughly around thereabouts in that particular kingdom's area. They're not necessarily tied together.
Okay.
But the super rich, like hyper, advanced, society extends a hand of engagement to an offer of engagement to Princess Leia Organa in front of Han too. And so here's Han Solo like, and then Leia's like, I just invited him to dinner. It's like, what do you mean you invited him to dinner? And so shenanigans ensue. It's so fun. I would watch this movie. I would. Moving on from the topic, not from the pain, because we don't let go where we come from. October 5 coming up is Daughter of the Deep. I want to say, I have been told by Alexa, because I don't like reading like advanced blurbs, that this is not related to Percy Jackson, in that I thought, hey, this must be some Neptune or Poseidon thing. Apparently,
it's a lot of firsts for him, actually.
Apparently it's a Captain Nemo thing, which I'm just like, you know what? Fine, bring it.
First science fiction. It's the first one where it's a female lead, solely a female.
Solely a female. I mean, he's written female characters before. Yeah, and Rick Riordan has written female characters before, and that was fine. But to have them lead exclusively, I think is going to be interesting for me. And plus, if she's related to Captain Nemo at all, then at one point in time,
I have no idea what the actual premise is, but I know those 3 things.
Then she may, if this young woman takes command of the Nautilus, I am in for. And then lastly, I just wanted to show the world that I may, speaking of books, just like, novels, I may be trying my hand at picking up physical copies again. This happens to be an old arc of The Beast, a Dark Deep novel. This is the second book in the Dark Deep thing. I am going to try to read it. Yeah, it might be, because it is a spooky kind of
spooky month.
And literally 2 years from when this came out. October 1st, 2019. It's 2021, friends.
Well, 2020 was like
still
10 years
like
ago.
2019 though. So I will try my hand at picking up a physical copy again. And what has given me the impetus to do so, I shall tell you when it's my turn once again.
Oh. Mystery. Cliffhanger until we get back to Mackie.
Just something to entertain folks. It's not even relatively, I don't know, that's just in my head. In my head I thought it was entertaining.
Okay, for this month's family book club, we're reading a murder mystery type story, but that my sister Rachel picked out. It's called The Thursday Murder Club. It's by Richard Osman, and it is basically about 4 friends in a retirement village. They're all over the age of 80. They meet every week and they like to talk about,
so cute.
Unsolved crimes, unsolved murder mysteries. But then in their tiny village there happens to be an actual crime, and so they kind of get involved in that. And it just sounds so precious. also kind of funny. So I'm just like,
Wasn't there like
a
wasn't there like a meme about like why are all of the young adult like female like heroines like teenagers who are trying to just figure themselves out? Where is the 80-year-old who knows exactly what to do and is accompanied by their nurse?
It's gonna be fun. I can't wait to read that. And then with my friend Danica, we're going to be reading A Lesson in Vengeance, which is by Victoria Lee. Relatively new release. I don't really know too much about this one, except that it's set at a boarding school and involves witches in some sort of way, which fits in nicely with my overall, like, theme for the month, which is witches and wolves. So
that's right.
Works out well. I don't really want to get, like, know too much about it, but that's all I know. Boarding school, witches. And then I think the main character goes back to boarding school after leaving for a while, so... That's important stuff. And then we have some rereads. So we have The Two Towers, second book in the Lord of the Rings.
Oh, that's right, because you had read.
I reread The Hobbit and The Fellowship of the Ring last month.
Wow.
So I am going to be reading this one this month because I'm going to, be reading along with my friend Bethany while she does her reread of the series. And
wow.
it has been really fun for me so far to just revisit the story. It's been so long, and I'm still very much into how the story is told in the world and everything. I'm excited because The Two Towers and The Return of the King were my two favorites when I read this the first time.
I mean...
So, for good reason, obviously. But we'll see how it goes.
In terms of events, really. I mean, it just doesn't...
Also, on the reread pile, this one definitely has witches. We have Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas, which is the fourth book in the Throne of Glass series. Unlike Mackie, who decided to binge everything in like 2.5 weeks, my friend Danica and I have been slowly making our way through the series, so
But it's such a steep down... Anyway, please go on.
I've reread it quite a few times at this point, except for the last book, so... I think I can be excused.
You can afford to like ruminate.
And I'm gonna be rereading it again next year, so... Anyway,
Cheers.
Queen of Shadows is actually one of my favorite books in the series, so I'm very much looking forward to getting to it. It is, I would like to say, what happens after the turning point of the third book, which means there's a lot of fallout in it. And it gets exciting and a little stressful, but it's also really fun, and you kind of get to see the bigger cast sort of come together, and it's gonna be great, so I can't wait to reread that.
And the world really opens up, and I appreciate that.
It ends the first villain arc and opens it up to a new villain arc.
That's right.
So, very exciting. That's the first half, so are you going to
reveal why
I'm
actually picking up physical books?
Yes.
Much as I love the digital book life, and I really, really do. I just like something to have. It's just like having like a device in the palm of my hand and literally just flicking through pages. And I mean,
it is really easy.
And it's lovely. But because I have been, as I mentioned in the previous possibility pile, reading some Yona manga. Yona of the Dawn right here, right? Totally upside down for your, pleasure. Right here are the next, sort of like, few, like handful of volumes that I am going to be spending some time on. I apparently don't mind putting books in my hands if they're like tiny and they have pictures, because I'm me. True to form, it makes me so angry that we are not going to see these animated anytime soon. I hope that they do.
I hope someone picks it up.
I am currently past the 10 volumes, so now I'm starting from 11 sort of
you're
upwards.
In like, we don't know. I don't know anything.
Yeah, we are in territory that has not been seen literally on TV.
Oh gosh,
and it's so good. The writing is so good so far. It is the classic shoujo trope of I'm a princess and I have very strong friends, or in this case just the one, and my life is turned upside down, and now I have to get new friends and new allies and find my own strength and not just rely on the strength of those around me. And it's this beautiful, beautiful tale of that kind of, like, it's coming of age, but it's tied directly to the fate of an entire like region. Or so we thought.
Oh my gosh, please stop. I'm so stressed. I don't even know.
Because let's not forget that Yona, I'll only drop this as a semi-spoiler, every single character in Yona has an arc.
I'm just gonna sit here.
And no one has a throwaway arc. It stresses me out so much already, and I can't wait. So that's in my hands. That's why I'm like picking books up again, because I like the feel of like, and then what happened? That little.
I like how you flicked it.
I know. My next couple of things. This is how algorithms really sort of work. There is a graphic novel. I didn't even know it was. I didn't know it was a graphic novel at all. I just thought, ooh, pretty cover, and then I just totally grabbed it. Jaimal Yogis, I have butchered that, I am sure, and I apologize, has a book called The Awakening Storm, a graphic novel called City of Dragons.
Oh, nice. More dragons.
Volume 1. I have it set in my Kindle. I ended up pre-ordering it and now it's here, and I am so excited to sort of read it. On the front cover, you'll see right now, it's a little girl with like a backpack, and there's like dragons in the city, and I'm just like, that's sold. Give me any.
I mean, really, it's
give me all of it. And what's funny is after the algorithm, like, you know, had said you should get this thing, and the author actually just ended up, you know, like, oh my gosh, the response has been so good, and now I'm totally hyped, right? Because I was not one of those people who responded. I haven't read it yet, but I'm gonna, and it's gonna be great.
That's exciting.
So that's very exciting. And to cap things off, because I will be reading like graphic novels left and right. Anywho, the Animorphs graphic novel volume 2, The Visitor, is coming out October 5. A big day for releases. I just hope that they start talking to like 19 other artists so that they can do this 54 issue like series like before either of us kick it, right? Because 54, will we live 54 more? Like, I can't. So
maybe out of sheer stubbornness, maybe out of sheer
like spite, like they better start talking to people, because it's gonna be like one volume every, like, unless, even if you cut the Helmacrons out and all of the other weird fillers, that's still 30 years if you want like, if you're doing 30 one a year. If you're doing one a year. So I don't know how they're gonna do it. I hope they do. If they cherry pick, that's fine too, because, you know, but if they're gonna commit to a full shelf, which I want, then I just hope they've got I hope Scholastic has a strategy, because yes, the series is completed, but the art is so good.
Oh yeah, you really like the first one.
And to see the story that you sort of grew up with unfold visually is a different treat, and they have done the original work so much justice that I was just sobbing through the first issue knowing what was going to happen. So that's an exciting month coming up for me.
That is an exciting month coming out.
Why don't you take this possibility pile video home?
I hope so.
Here we go.
All right. I am going to reread a couple more books. So the first two I'm actually reading with Danica also. Windwitch, which is the second book in the Witchling series, and Sight Witch, which is book 2.5. It's a novella that comes in between book 2 and 3. So this one I've actually read before. It's heavily focused on the character that's on the cover, who is Merrick. Can't say much more than that because it kind of gets into spoiler territory, but I am looking forward to rereading this to see if my feelings about it have changed at all. I wasn't the biggest fan of how some of the things turned out in this story for some of the characters, like Isolde and Ada are still my favorites, but I'm curious to see how I'd feel about it now because it's been a couple of years since the first time I read it. And Sight Witch I have never actually read, but it is about a character that we meet in the Witchling series named Ryber, and it's sort of her history and how she ends up crossing paths with the others in the story. And I am admittedly quite curious about her origin story, because I honestly can't figure it out just based on like what we learned about her from the other books. So it'll be interesting to see how this, you know, sort of plays out. And then I didn't actually plan on doing this at first, but then I was like, you know what, we're just gonna do it because I can. So I'm going to reread Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco, which I read last summer before it even came out. And I wanted to reread this because I also want to read the new release in this series, Kingdom of the Cursed, which is out on October 5th.
There we go. Big day.
I am really excited. This one is basically, there are two twin sisters and one of them gets murdered, and Emilia, the one who's left behind, is determined to solve the mystery of how her sister died and who did it. And so she ends up summoning Wrath, who is a prince of hell, gets him to cooperate with her. They work together. Things kind of go from there. I really enjoyed this one when I read it last year. It gave me such a very strong atmosphere. It gave me such autumnal vibe, so I'm excited to be reading it during October. I think that'll be really fun. And I'm so excited for the sequel. Like, I just need to know what happens next after how this one ends, so I'm very excited. Speaking of autumnal vibes, the series also kind of gives them to me, so I'm also looking forward to reading them. So I'm going to reread These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong, which I read last year. A lot of people, and I'm sure you've heard it, have pitched this as basically 1920s Shanghai, Romeo and Juliet. Those are the two things.
Rival gangs.
And it does sort of have those elements where there's like the rival gangs. They have sort of romantic tension between them, the two main characters who are from the two opposing gangs. But I will say, like, it's not really heavily Romeo and Juliet. There are little nods here and there in other forms with tiny details. But the story is actually something completely unique and all its own. And I kind of wish people would see that more. It is a bit slower, and it does have a lot of attention to like the historical detail to set it up properly for the reader, but I really liked it, and I'm really like, after the way it ends as well, I was so excited because I want to read the sequel, which is coming out in November. Luckily, I was sent an early copy of Our Violent Ends, which is the final book in that series. I just want to see how everything, you know, plays out after it all went up in flames at the end of the last book. Like, it was crazy.
Were we surprised though that it went up in
No,
flames
not
in the
really.
last book? Not
I'm really invested in finding out how these characters work things out because there's so much going on. There's stuff going on between them, between the gangs and other political structures in the country.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on, and I'm really curious to see how it all wraps up in this book. I have seen that some other people have already read it and been decimated by it, so I'm slightly concerned for myself. Slightly.
I'm concerned for you. All the yelling.
But I am really, really looking forward to reading this one as well, even though it will probably hurt me.
Wonderful.
All right.
So that sort of ends our little possibility pile run.
Yes.
October is just pregnant with possibility in it.
Yes, it is.
That's a lot of stuff to expect, especially on October 5.
Yep.
In a few days coming up. If you like any of the stuff that you've heard us talk about, holler at us at the comments below. Either way, wherever you are, hope you're holding out all right. And
Be doing well.
I hope you've got some good books to keep you company.
True.
And if not, hope you've got some friends to keep you company as
And
well. Family, whatever. Or found families, which we love. Lord knows we need ours over here to help keep the sanity sort of like going. We're going to catch you with the next one. So until then.
Bye.